Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Today I want to do some frequently asked questions with my members. I'm getting into the comment section, so if you drop your comment with your IGN, with a question, I will do my best to come through and answer these. It's never just you that's wondering, so please drop your comments, your questions, and I'll do my best to get to them. I can't get to all of them, but I do my best to get to some of the ones that really have some meat on the bones so that everybody can enjoy the answer and the discussion. Bossy J had a question, and I actually don't know the answer to this, but I want to discuss it because one, I think it's important, and two, I'm hoping that we can come to a kind of a collective understanding together, because I don't truly know the answer. I've put out some feelers to people within the community to try and figure out the answer for sure, but if you guys know better than what I'm about to say, drop a comment below. So Saucy says, where does the DEC come from when people purchase credits from Splinterlands and use them for card purchases? So first of all, when you're in Splinterlands, you can actually buy credits. You can come in here and you can add credits to your account. You can pay with PayPal or with crypto. And so the question is, if you buy $100 worth of credits and then you spend $100 those credits in the marketplace buying cards, how does the DEC end up in the seller's hands? And I think the answer is that it doesn't. I actually think they get paid in credits. So I was just saying that I think if you pay in credits, the seller gets credits. But I was speaking with my man Jarvie, and you guys know he is the Peak Monsters man himself. Jarvie was saying, so I said, hey Jarvie, where does the DEC come from when people purchase credits from Splinterlands and use them for the card purchases? This is the exact question. I literally copied it from Saucy. And he said, and I said to him, I added to it, if I buy credits from Splinterlands and spend them with you at Peak Monsters, does the seller get credits from me because I paid in credits? They do, right? That's what I said. Because that's what I just said in this video. But here's what Jarvie said. He goes, when credits are used, Splinterlands team pays the seller the DEC that is required. So they're completing that trade for us. They're putting the credits in your hand through that process of PayPal or crypto sales or whatever. But then they're essentially saying that credit, we accept that. That's like our dollar bill. That's like our fiat currency. We will complete that trade for Peak Monsters. I guess it's like, and Peak Monsters is just facilitating a trade. So Peak Monsters doesn't hold any of these cards that you put on the market. They don't exactly hold them. It's more like when you go to list a card through Peak Monsters, it gets essentially tracked on the blockchain that you have listed a card for sale at such and such price. And then someone else comes along and says, I'll take that. And so then really all that's happening is Splinterlands is saying, okay, you're paying with credits. We now have to step in and finish that trade so we deliver the DEC in exchange for your credits. So at that moment, without you ever knowing it, you send credits to me. I'm selling a card, you're buying with credits. You send credits to me, but Splinterlands is actually completing it and saying, Jarvie's saying, so Splinterlands team just has to always make sure they have a bunch of DEC in reserve. Sometimes they even have to use the money they got from the credit purchase to buy the DEC they need to cover the sale. But he went on to say, but these days I doubt they have to do that because they often probably have a ton of stock from when people buy credits with DEC, like during Chaos Pack times. Otherwise, they aren't really transparent on how they're acquiring that. In short, no credits can be transferred. This is important. In short, no credits can be transferred. It's always DEC that's transferred. I didn't know that. And so this is contrary to what I just said earlier in my video. But I did want to leave that because that was in my opinion. And I wanted to let you guys see that like I don't know everything. And of course I'm not gonna try and gloss over my mistake and try and hide that. I thought you could submit credits to one another. Jarvie, who runs Peak Monster, says you can't. And so Splinterlands is just finishing that trade for us. And they do have a ton of DC just that they've accumulated from a variety of actions, including, like he said, Chaos Pack sales. So that's how that happens, Saucy. I didn't know, but now we know. Thanks, Jarvie, for chiming in. I appreciate you, my dude. Back to the video. Let's try and do like, say, 4 more questions. So Bobby Blankenship, Steam Monsters, huh? Yeah, sure. I'll check it out. Why not? Crypto kitties will never be worth anything. All right. That's funny. He's so 3 hours ago, Bobby is watching one of my really old videos, and that's awesome. This is like me walking in a park near my old house, and heck, I'm gonna show a bit of it. Hang on. This is me walking. This is a video from January 28th, 2019, which was actually the day after my birthday, by the way. My birthday is January 27th. So that's 3 years ago. I was 38 the day before this. And I was using Video Shop. This was just like straight up with my phone. And this is a beautiful park I used to walk by on my way home. But obviously the content, Steam Monsters, I love it. Today I wanted to discuss Steam, gaming, and the latest endeavor, Steam Monsters. Nice. This is super. I love that you found this one, Bobby. A friend online convinced me to give it a try, and I'm glad I did. If you don't know, it's a collectible card game online where you collect and use those cards in online battles for supremacy. I love that. This is like finding a time capsule. I love it. Dude, so cool. Yeah, so I've got some old videos if you guys want to check those out. Even go watch this one. It's got 22 views, and just from nostalgia reasons alone, for you guys who love Splinterlands, come check this one out. And if you do drop a comment, I'd love to see that. Thanks, dude. Cracking me up. Okay, now let's go back to comments. Okay. Wish I'd found you back then. Totally. That's funny. So Bobby's just checking out the old catalog. This is like one of my first YouTube videos where I was talking about stacking silver. I was trying to get 1,000 ounces of physical silver because I strongly believe that gold and silver as limited resources, like there's only so much in the world. And yes, we're collecting new gold from the ground by mining, but the amount of, for instance, silver that's being just wasted, literally thrown in landfills because it's used in certain processes that we can't extract, and the monetary value of the trace elements of silver aren't worth it. Like we literally put silver in t-shirts nowadays because it's antimicrobial, and so we do it in like athletic shirts so they don't stink so much. And then it just goes in landfills because we're not going to go to the trouble of extracting that silver when silver costs what it costs today. And so as a result, we're literally throwing silver in landfills. And so there's actually, especially because of the cost of silver right now is not conducive to a lot of deep mining. A lot of significant mines are just being shut down, which is causing even like it's really turning it on its head where there's not nearly enough silver. It's a meaningful product that we use for a lot of important things, including solar panels, I think batteries, like I said, sort of antimicrobial applications, and all of these applications, and then jewelry on top of that, and not to mention the bullion that people like myself want to hold. So there's actually not nearly enough, and we're burning through the stockpiles that we have. So I love it for an investment because it's essentially limited in quantity. Yes, we can dig out more, but we don't. And even if we do, it's still relatively limited. There's only so much inflation. It's not, as opposed when you compare that to fiat currency, which the governments can print as much as they want, that comparison is so lopsided in the favor of silver and for that matter, gold, and even copper, like palladium. All of precious metals, as far as I'm concerned, are super wise because there's only so many of them. It's the same as why like Splinterlands is the same as why like Bitcoin is the same as why like, a lot of different cryptocurrencies. There's only so much of it. It has an interesting use case, and I don't trust fiat currency. And so it's funny that you're watching the old catalog there, Bobby. Appreciate you. Thanks, my dude. Yeah, I huge silver proponent. Like I strongly believe silver is hugely underrated, and I think silver will be worth a significant amount more in the future. And I think of silver as like a savings account. I don't think of it as an investment. I think of it as like literally a savings account. But I don't like paper certificates. You can buy SLV. That's by buying an ETF of silver, which is a fancy way of saying an investment contract. It's like saying you own silver because you have a certificate that says you own silver, but those certificates are printed like 100, 200 times more often than the actual silver they own. So these enterprises, these companies that have these that sell these ETFs, exchange traded funds, they will sell more of these paper certificates than they have physical silver to account for, which is super crazy. It's like, can you imagine saying you're going to sell me your house and then just give me a piece of paper that says I own your house, but you give out 100 of those pieces of paper to 100 different people? That's what they're doing. They're literally selling paper, and saying that this gives you ownership, but they can't. If everyone came in and said, I want my silver now, they could not comply. And so for those reasons, I'm a strong proponent of owning precious metals. Let's see. Let's get 3 more. Dude, that's neat. Did holding these ever make you feel like a medieval banker? Haha. It kind of does, honestly, because you think about, I have a silver coin that's from 1847, and that's older than my country. Canada was officially founded in 1867. But 1847 is the date of this coin, the silver. It's a silver eagle, and the idea that that's the history that's walked through, and I really enjoy history and historicity. The idea of like what the story of this coin or a book or a building, what's that gone through, and what sort of stories and lives have passed, who have held or touched this object. To me, it's super interesting. And if you just, especially silver, and looking at how that's been money for humans for millennia. And same with gold, right? It's like gold, silver, precious metals. The Roman Empire used to use this stuff like 2,000 years ago. And so this is money, like this thing we call money nowadays, this, debit cards, credit cards, fiat currency. This is nothing. This is literally zeros and ones in a bank account, and they're inflating it into nothingness. So it's strangely actually connective or connecting. It's like, it's got this great like attachment to history to actually physically hold real silver, especially when you can get an antiquated coin like that. Like I said, 20 years older than my country. Still, I'm gonna go 3 more because Bobby's got some interesting but quick questions here. Lynn says, yo, Mr. Dwayne, are you still looking up for scholars? Can I apply to a current? I am and I'm not, Lynn. I have tons of power, but it's just a lot of effort for me to set them up. So maybe when I get to a place where I am ready to create new accounts, I'll put out another thing saying, come on, apply, guys. Right now, I'm not looking for anybody. Ketovore, how much do you put on your time, and how much do you put on your time and attention? I would put mine about $20 an hour. So good question, Ketovore. That's a fun question, actually. So, and this video he's commenting on is, I was talking about how I think I make about $25 a season playing this game, and I probably play the game half an hour a day, so probably 3 hours a week. And I make $25 on average from my end of season rewards. But I probably make another 50 for my daily loot chests. Between 25 and 50. That's on average. Some days are going to be amazing. Some days are going to be terrible. Today I had a loot chest that was really embarrassingly low. It was like probably 15 cents. And then you have to remember that even though it might sound like $25 for the end of season rewards, which is every 15 days, might sound small. And the $25 to $50 I just said to you for my daily loot chest is not every day. It's every day times the season. So if you take 15 daily loot chests, add them all up, it's probably around 25 to 50 bucks. Across all my accounts, so I'm saying across 8 or 9 accounts, across $100,000 worth of cards, I'm probably making $75 every 15 days playing this game. And so he says, and that's me playing roughly 3 hours a week because I don't play some of those accounts. I have scholars who play them. So what's my time and attention worth? I mean, that would, if you, that's saying like $25 an hour kind of thing to worth my investment. No, it's more like, as I said, 3 hours a week. There's 2 weeks in a season. So it's actually more like $12.50 an hour. But two things. This game isn't exactly a job. I enjoy playing. When I say I play 3 hours a week, I enjoy playing that 3 hours a week. I don't do it exactly because I'm getting financial reward. I enjoy the financial reward, but I play it because I like it. This game it's so important if you like this game that you actually play it from the mindset of it's an entertainment first and an opportunity second. That's so key. And then second, when you try to understand what your reward is for playing this game, I want you to remember that it's not actually the price is when you receive the asset. So if you play today and you got a daily loot chest that was worth 20 US cents, did you just earn 20 US cents? No, you didn't. You earned 4 NFTs that were valued at 20 US cents today. Did you sell those NFTs right away? Probably not. I would think you wouldn't, because 20 cents, who cares? It's not going to excite you. It's not going to move the needle. It's not going to be meaningful. There'd be very few people who are going to go liquidate those 4 NFTs, then somehow get that money into their bank account, right? That would be what it would look like to cash out on a daily basis. Of course, you're not going to do that. What you probably did is just sat on those 4 NFTs. So did you actually get paid 20 US cents for that day of play? No, you got 4 NFTs, and those NFTs are limited in number, diminishing in supply, and there's a growing player base, which is going to drive those assets up in the future. And so did you get 20 cents or did you get 4 NFTs that are worth something much more than that in the future? It's the latter, right? Like you have to really recognize that you're getting paid NFTs that will appreciate with time and attention as the game grows, as the popularity continues to persist, if it continues to persist, if the game continues to linger and grow in the ways that I expect it will, then those assets will be worth way more than that. And I actually think 20 times is probably a fair and reasonable exponential. So moving a 1 cent asset into a 20 cent asset is very, very probable in my opinion. In fact, I think it's probably going to be in some cases 100x. But I'm saying on a conservative side, I really believe 20x is common for the reward cards we're receiving today. And so in conclusion, Ketovore, I do think my time is worth probably $50 an hour. That's what I think my time is actually worth. If you're going to give me a job, I wouldn't really want to spend. And I actually have on my channel, I'll do one-on-one. I'll spend an hour with you every month if you want. It just has a huge price tag because I have 2 daughters, I have a wife, I have a full-time job. I can't do that for nothing. And YouTube takes like half of the profit anyway. So I'd say my time is worth about $50 an hour. I don't want to spend an hour for less than that sort of profit. But this game isn't just about profit. It's not just a job. It's a form of entertainment. And when I add in the fact that the assets I'm receiving for that play actually are worth way more than they're currently listed for, it all points to the fact that I really think I'm getting way more than $50 an hour playing this game. I think I'm getting $75 every 2 weeks, $75 every 2 weeks on average. My calculator's acting up. In a second. $75 every 2 weeks, and there's 26 2-week periods in the year, which equates to roughly, I think, $2,000 US. Like it's actually $1,950. $1,950 a year from playing this game across all my accounts. And that's on the low end, I believe. That's not including, by the way, any sort of SPS, any sort of DC, any sort of Chaos Legion packs that might in themselves appreciate or have assets in them that are worth, subdividing this number. But $2,000 a year from playing a game 3 hours a week. And then when I take the 1950 and I times it by 20, because I actually think the assets I'm received today in 4 years will be worth 20x. That's actually my genuine belief. That actually looks like a crazy number. It's a 39,000 US dollars. I think I'm going to get paid 39,000 US dollars for all of my accounts today, being for the next 365 days, or if you want to say it a different way, over the last 365 days. I think all the assets I accrued across all my accounts are going to be worth 30 to 40,000 US dollars in 4 years' time. Because I actually believe on average, the assets I'm receiving today are going to be worth 20 times their list price. And that means that it totally transforms what I'm being paid to play. That's why, even though I say my time is worth $50 an hour, and even though I agree, you have to kind of think that your question is so important. You do have to think that. I first believe this is fun and entertainment first, opportunity second. And I also believe the assets I'm receiving are worth more than the list price. And if you understand that premise, then I think you're going to begin to recognize the long-term excitement of being here and enjoying this game. Great question, though. Let's do this last one, and then we'll call it. Okay, so Mitch Brazier says, why not do both? You can still have scholars for the accounts, and then on the last day of the season, rent out a considerable amount of power, possibly even dropping the account from gold to silver. And you would still earn some of the end of season chests, but you would still get a maximum of the high rental day. Then you can use the rental revenue to buy additional reward cards at the beginning of the season when they're super cheap. It's like you're buying crappy chests at 1/5 the price. Yeah, that's true. I have the power to be in diamond, but to play in silver, so I can apply to tournament cheaply and also rent out a lot of power and then buy cheap reward cards every day. Perhaps you can have like top 50% of scholars compete in a tournament for the leagues to see how they do. Golden Skeeter. So great suggestion, great idea. I agree, Mitch. I do actually. He's commenting on the same video where it's like I was asking, does it make sense to play the game at all, or should I just rent out my assets? Because if I rent out my assets, I actually think in the short term I could generate as much or more than the money I just told you I would generate by playing. But the question is, what am I doing here? Am I just trying to raise money? Is this just a job? If it is, I should just rent all my cards, because then I actually will create more money on one day of renting my cards at the end of the season than I will through playing the game. Probably. That's probably true. But I like playing the game, and it's not just about making maximum amount of money. It's actually me trying to enjoy the game. And so what Mitch is saying is what I usually do. I do some balance. I play the game until I'm done at the end of the season. I reach the goal I think I want, usually champion 2 or 3. And then I just go ahead and rent out what I'm going to rent out and delegate some freebies to some friends and to supporters of the channel. Because I do agree that there's a nuanced and balanced approach that can really maximize what you're doing here while maximizing your fun and your reward. So great comment. Thanks, Mitch. I'm going to send you a little something. Okay, and I think that's good enough. How are we doing for time? We're only at 24 minutes. You know what? I'm going to keep going a little bit. Okay. Prasad says, once we unstake SPS, would we still get vouchers? Once you unstake SPS, you will not get vouchers currently. Unless you're going to be running, because your voucher payment is dependent on your SPS stake at this point. And in the future, I think the SPS, in a large part, this vouchers will be delivered to those people running the nodes, the validator nodes. But even then, there will still be opportunity to get vouchers through staking SPS. So unstake and you won't. But if you click unstake, you'll get all your rewards until the week ends, and then your stake is released. And at that moment, 25% of your stake will be released, and you'll stop receiving 25% of your voucher payout. and then a week will go by and another 25% of your total stake will be released, and so on. Yellow says, Dwayne, I'm finding that the approach of reassessment of where we stand in our assets in Splinterlands that you often do take into account this very moment is very useful in other areas of life. Can we make a video on how you would use time and attention in this way of reassessing things in our regular life in our regular life time management or something like that? I'm finding it useful to reassess what I think I know about myself and my life situation and what my plans are for the future, and see it differently from this moment, to see where I'm wrong and what I could do or better be done with my time and attention, as you often say. You know my question, please don't send my DC, but if you answer my question, please don't send DC to me, but some other person in comments who you did not answer but left their IGN. Thanks. That's really nice. Thanks, Yellow. So Yellow, first of all, Yellow is a constant commenter. He always provides great questions. Also, I see him on other people. I think I saw him recently on, I think it was Luke's stream. So he's just constantly around, a figure in this community, really striving to understand this game and to maximize his own personal growth here. So love that attitude. I think people who are bringing that thirst for knowledge and growth to this unique time of blockchain development and NFT gaming are going to be so well off in the future. I really believe that. And it's not because there's some sort of magic in this one game, although I do think this game is special. It's also not that this moment is somehow unique, because the last months and weeks and years before today were actually part of a big story of how blockchain is taking over the world, in my opinion. So, but it's really about how curiosity and the power of curiosity to unlock opportunity, to identify opportunity and unlock opportunity, is so meaningful. And so I actually love the question, Yellow, because I think that curiosity that you're expressing is the actually secret sauce that you're actually asking me to unlock or to kind of reveal. I think it's not so much that there's a 1, 2, 3 step process where you will, find where I can teach you how to really move forward in a super excellent way for your personal life. Although I think in some sense what I'm saying to you is applicable in that way. It's more like my encouragement to everyone who watches this channel from every video I've ever talked about Splinterlands. It's about striving to ask big questions around what are we looking at here? What are we dealing with here? What is the power and the use case of NFT gaming? Why is it important? Is it important? Why is blockchain, cryptocurrency assets, why are they important? Are they important? What is the problem with fiat currency? Is there a problem? Is it a problem that our countries print money endlessly? Is it a problem that our country is constantly paying off voters, just giving every special interest group everything they want, deferring, like essentially borrowing from the future to enjoy prosperity today? Is that a problem? I actually think it's a deep problem. I actually think it's an enormous problem that will come home to roost. And that has implications for how I then explore economics, and how I explore blockchain, and how I explore anything that sort of offers limited assets. Any asset that has limited supply. And that earlier we talked about silver, we talked about gold, we talked about cryptocurrency, we talked about NFT gaming. Splinterlands specifically is part of that picture. So it's like this general curiosity brought to life, and looking at, and actually, by the way, in my spiritual life, my walk with Jesus and how I met Jesus, I walked into a church because of curiosity, because my wife invited me, and because of curiosity. And then I was open to hear what the conversations around who Jesus was. He was a literal man. He actually lived. He actually died in ways that were documented by both Christians and non-Christians. And he was said to have been seen alive 3 days after that. all of that to me, just from curiosity that God's blessed me with, and I think I see in your comment, is that is the self-writing tool. That's the kind of the real powerful device that I would love more people to just grab onto. It's not a technique, it's a tool that's natural to your mind, where it's like you actually are inquisitive and curious and you want to understand why things work the way they work. And then if they work that way, is there a way through this to maximize my own benefit from it? And that totally applies to life, like to fitness. It applies to faith. It applies to finance. And that's why long ago, I used to say on my videos and my blog posts, I write about family, finance, and faith, because in my opinion, those are the most important things. I think obviously faith is important to me, but then finance is me trying to be a good steward of the assets that I have in this world, because I actually think I can have meaningful impact on the lives of those I love and the people that are near me, that God's put me He's put me in their path. And then of course my family is so important to my life too. So great question. And I do think that this idea of reassessing things as you move through them is absolutely integral to growth. And I do believe that not everybody do that. I also think that not everybody tries this. And so I think you're 2 steps ahead of others. And I encourage you to continue to walk in that curiosity and it's about, at my church, the lead pastor often says, doubt your doubts. Like skepticism is a beautiful thing. Not unto itself. Like, not just because you are a fence sitter and you don't want to make a decision. Be the guy who's willing to make the decision, but also be the man who's okay with being wrong and humble enough to admit it. And that actually means that you're going to then be in this constant self-critique about your choices, not in a shaming, flagellating, like you're not going to like punish yourself. Oh man, that was such a stupid decision. I can't believe I did that. But actually in the sense of, okay, that didn't go as well as I wanted. What went wrong there? What wasn't optimized? How could I tweak that? If I'm going to stay around in Splinterlands, what angles are going to be the best way for me to do that? Is it going to be renting to play? Is it going to be playing for $10 at the bronze level? Is it going to be investing money? If I'm going to invest money, how much money and what could I personally afford? Oh, maybe that was too much. And then rethinking that next season every week or month or even year. Life absolutely requires this. Growth requires this. And one of my favorite, you guys have heard me talk about Jordan Peterson before, and this is where I'll land this conversation. I love how Jordan Peterson talks about this idea. He says that you are always, I might be getting some of my pastor's thoughts mixed up with what Jordan says, so forgive me if that's so, but it's something like this. It's like we are creatures that are made to aim at something. Like we set targets and we aim at that and we move toward it. And sometimes we do so badly. And some people do so in a wandering way where they don't really even know what they want. So it starts, and this is Peterson for sure. He says, start by understanding what you want. If you were the sort of person that you cared about, what would you do tomorrow and today to actually move your life forward in a positive way? What little things? I don't mean like suddenly get married and have children. I mean, little steps could you do today that would actually move the needle, that over 3 months or even 5 years might, one day at a time, move you closer. What if it was getting up out of bed at 9 a.m. every day because you sleep till noon and you're wasting 25-30% of your life just lying in bed every morning? What if it was reading a new book? What if it was going to the gym once a week at first? What if it was applying for a new job? You already have a job, but you don't love it. And what if it was just keeping that job, but then applying for another? There's a million things that you could do, and in your heart, if you really want to know the answer to this question, you'll know the answer. But you have to stop and actually talk to yourself and say, what one thing that if I could change, I would change? And then once you actually are confronted with that reality, think it through. What one thing or two things could I do today that would begin to move me closer to that goal? And as you go through that process, you're going to find that some of the steps you take that you thought were moving you toward that goal that you desired are going to either prove they didn't really work out, like it actually moved you away from your ultimate goal. Or maybe, 6 months go along and you decide maybe that one goal isn't actually where my heart's at. That's okay too. All of this is that reassessment that you're talking about. This is that exploration. So you're setting a target, you're an animal that aims, and you set goals. And even if you're wandering, this is still what you do. It's just you're not doing it very efficiently. So do this intentionally. Stop and say, what one thing would I love to see in my life? And if I could have it, I would have it. And then once you've actually set your sights on that thing, what one or two things could I do today that would actually move me closer to that? And then be forgiving with yourself and gracious as you fail to do that, because you will at times fail to do it. You won't do the things you want to do, or you will, and they won't work out the way you expected, and they'll move you further from your intended goal. All of that, be gracious with yourself, reassess, like you just said, use that curiosity and carry that forward through it. And you're going to find that that's going to be pulling you closer and closer through intentionality to where you actually want to be. And hopefully, the strange thing is where you want to be isn't necessarily always the best place to be, because it's like there's one thing where what you want is one thing, what you need is another, and that's a separate conversation. But I think if you're being honest in this process of self-reflection and reassessment, and in earnestly exploring your own heart about what you would want if you could want, what you would have if you could have, that process, if you're honest with yourself, is going to be really productive. So I hope that, and I pray that is meaningful to you, Yellow. And thank you very much for the question and for always supporting the channel through all the questions you have dropped in the past. And I'm going to drop Udi Easy a little thank you on behalf of Yellow, even though I didn't get his question. Thank you, my dude. Okay, I'm actually going to leave it there. That was a great comment and question, and I appreciate you. And guys, thank you so much for your time and attention. If you're new to the channel, we do this sort of frequently asked question section as often as I possibly can. I try to do it at least once a week because there's so many great questions, and I want to support the channel. You guys who are part of the community, who are thirsty for that knowledge, I want to do this as often as I possibly can. So please drop your comments below. Give me that fuel to work with. And when there is an opportunity for me to send a thank you after I've answered your question, I will do so, giving a little DEC or SPS or something. Guys, have an amazing day. God bless.